Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate if you want to support me or support the channel if you would consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. We are on the road to 10K. We are at like 6.4K right now. So that's crazy. Honestly, you guys are the best. You guys have really been rolling in over the course of this year, even despite me having to take multiple YouTube breaks due to all these little health problems I got going on. So thank you guys so much for being there for me, being there for the channel, and being supportive. Today we are going to talk about the Married at First Sight Season 18 Reunion Part 1. And I have to say I like Kevin Frazier as a host. Okay, you can see his little earpiece in his ear. Okay, he has people behind the scenes who are actually asking him the real questions to ask to these people. And I'm not saying that you're going to necessarily get good answers, because look at who we got on our cast. But I like that there is somebody there that is actually asking Kevin the questions, because you already know how I feel about Sean Robinson on 90 Day Fiance, or Nick and Vanessa on Love is Blind. Although I will give Nick and Vanessa credit. I think they did a little bit better, a little tiny bit better. Not much, but a teensy weensy bit better this time. So we're gonna jump into it. Let's start talking about this and get into the mess. So let's jump into the beginning of the reunion. We started off with some updates about everyone.
A little while, and honestly, I feel like I gotta give us some kudos to that, because two people can be in this like one bedroom apartment together, sharing a key, having it almost be like, you know, as it pertains to our love.
I love that, and I feel like that is something that, you know, makes you happy. Yeah. And we are moving on in life.
Oh, definitely. I've been traveling for music, been traveling for art, doing just...
Camille says that they are a dysfunctional family. She quote unquote loves everyone. By the way, I'm gonna call this the PR reunion, because I feel like all of these people decided they were gonna go on a PR tour, especially the big hard hitter troublemakers. They all have changed their tune when it has come to this reunion, barring a few. But Camille says they're a dysfunctional family. Carla says there's multiple group chats, but some people are in some chats, some people are in other chats. So you know how that goes. Camille and Thomas, they are still married. They got a new place. Michelle has celebrated her 40th birthday. Now Emm is still all over Brandon. They are still in love. They are still together. They just celebrated their 1-year anniversary. Emm is still, I don't know, head over heels, over the moon. I guess good for her. But as you know, I already gave my thoughts on how I felt about that last episode. Ike is keeping his dating life to himself, aka Ike has not been on no dates. But he has been traveling for art, for music. We get some video of him playing the guitar at a gig. Okay, cool. Carla and Juan, they are friends. And I was very disappointed to hear this. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very disappointed to hear Carla did not stand her ground, that they actually are friends. They go out for coffee. They send each other memes. Because remember on After Party, I believe, Juan was like, oh yeah, I know Carla, and I just have to keep nagging her basically to be my friend. She's not really telling the truth. And I hate that it seems like Carla did not stand her ground, and she is friends with him. But Juan does reveal he is dating and he has a new girlfriend. Carla, she is not dating, but she's not in a relationship, let's say that, but she's dating casually, nothing super serious. Allan reveals to us he has a girlfriend, and that already had came out on the internet a little while back. But he explains the story is basically the day before the reunion, he had gotten a call from a matchmaker that he contacted, and the matchmaker was like, hey, I have a match for you. So one day before the reunion, this match, she wanted to connect with Allan, and she had to basically tell the girl, oh, I'm getting married. Sorry, can't do that. But when things started to go downhill with Madison, he was still in contact with her, or they kept contact. So my presumption is that when things started to go downhill, then Allan started talking to her again, and now they are dating and things are seemingly going well. We get a blurred picture of her face and Allan, and they seem to be together. And we know that Allan took a girl out for Valentine's Day recently. So all good over there with Allan. And lastly, Madison and David, they live together currently in Madison's place. David moved out and moved into Madison's place. Important distinction from, oh, he got his own place. He lives in Madison's place, and they apparently have purchased an investment property together. Again, it's not David, probably mostly Madison, because from what I understand, she has a pretty well-paying job for one of the big 4 accounting firms. That's just what I heard. And they zoom in on the rings on their fingers. Okay, we see them little rings on their fingers. And of course, we're going to get into that a little bit later. So we go into our separate talks with all of the couples. And the first couple that we touch on is David and Madison.
I could definitely see myself like following through with this person at some point in my life. But I feel like there was something always there.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, and I wish I could go back and say that I should have as a man.
That would have hurt was...
Why didn't he confide in you?
Yeah, my friend and my friend kind of...
All right, so Kevin cuts straight to the chase and says, when did this start for you guys? When did this actually happen? Because we know you guys gave this story, blah, 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 blah. But what is the real tea on when it started between the two of you? For David, he says, I always found her attractive. There were even times where I reached out to my friends, my family, other people, and told them, I'm feeling some type of way. I'm having regrets. Why couldn't it have been her that walked down the aisle? That's BS, David. Because if Michelle liked you, you definitely would have been into Michelle. I don't believe that for 1 second. You would have been into any white blonde that was into you. But let's keep going. And his friends and family told him, you need to see it through. You need to figure this out because you signed up for this and you need to be committed to the marriage. Okay. Now for Madison, she says that around 3.5 weeks into when they started going to the gym, that's when things got closer. They talk deeply about his family, his life. And again, they are sticking 20 toes down on this. We met in the gym. That is where this started. They have agreed that that is the story that they are taking to the grave. So if any of us were expecting further stories or further clarification, the two of them just aren't breaking. So Allan is like, okay, but I have a question. We were supposed to be friends. We'd go out to the bar, we'd go out drinking. So when did it go from a point of, oh, you have these feelings for someone else and you confided in your family, you confided in your other friends, to, okay, now I'm going to go for my friend's wife? When did that happen? Because I'm not getting that. Why could you have not told that to me? I felt like an idiot and a clown, basically, knowing that the whole time you was plotting on her and we were sitting there talking, going out for drinks. David again launches into the PR apology tour that nobody believes, that he should have manned up. He should have said something from the beginning and that it is all on him. It's all his fault that he was not clear about his feelings for Madison. Now he wants to keep it 100 that he did shoot his shot. He makes it very, very clear that he was the one who came on to Madison. And again, I'm just not sure who these people's PR people is. I get it that David is trying to take the flack, take the heat, take the fall, put it all on him. But it does not help that your girlfriend or your fiance, whatever she is coming out barking and screaming and having a lot of attitude with Michelle at this reunion. Because I just feel like it's not helping y'all's image. So Michelle, they pan then to Michelle and ask, okay, so what about the food text? Why did you keep pushing and pushing and pushing when you knew it was a lie? Michelle says for her, she didn't like being lied to. So for her, she really wanted to get to the bottom of it. For her, it didn't really matter that they were together. But again, Michelle's biggest thing is how they went about it. She just wishes that they didn't lie to her face for weeks and weeks on end. David does admit, though, that he thought after the second lie that Michelle was going to let this go, and he did not realize that Michelle was going to actually keep going and keep going and keep going with this. So we get some unseen footage of Madison.
Sorry, but it's childish. Michelle needs to understand that I'm not involved in her and David. Like, the end of story, period. Like, keep my name out of your...
Basically being like, I don't get why Michelle keeps blaming me for everything going on in her marriage. I'm not a part of this. Why can't she bring this up off the show? Why does she keep putting me in the middle of this? I have nothing to do with this. And I'm like, oh, child. It's sociopathic behavior. I gotta be honest with you. It is sociopathic behavior to watch the way that David and Madison so flawlessly and effortlessly lied. And you know, you always hear that when you tell a lie enough, you start to believe it. And I really do think, at least in the case of Madison, she really started to believe her lie after a while because she kept on saying it and saying it and saying it. Now, she's saying that Michelle is a 38-year-old woman. This is embarrassing. She's immature. So after the footage is done, Michelle's like, I'm gonna just stay quiet. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna just stay quiet because my 38-year-old immature self needs to just be quiet. It's ridiculous. Madison, defensive already. Why? I don't want to rehash things that happened a year ago. Michelle's like, well, I'm pretty sure this is what this is for. At this point, Madison's on go mode. She's on babe mode. She's like, you know what? Let's burn this all to the ground. What is there to lose at this point? Okay, I don't get it. Now, Madison says that she feels that they were just continuing the 8-week marriage, she and David, to ride it out to the end. There was never any feelings there. And Michelle's like, okay, but you were doing that as well, so I don't get it. Madison, once again, PR tour goes into, well, I was actually trying. I was giving it a shot with Allan. I just didn't see it going anywhere. So Allan's like, I think we knew from the beginning that we were better as friends. Be so for real. It's just frustrating because, again, David and Madison, they refuse. They absolutely refuse to be honest about anything, and that has continued into the reunion. These two are so hard-headed and so stubborn. Now, Madison talks, they basically ask, okay, or Kevin, I say they, but Kevin asks, how often were you and David actually talking during this experiment? And Madison's like, I'm going to be honest, pretty much every day. However, I was with my friends when I said I was with my friends. There was only one night, the night that me and Allan had that big fight about the transactional comment, that I actually did go to hang out with David. I did call my friend Amanda, like I said on the show. But yes, I did hang out with David that night as well because I really needed someone. And I'm like, Madison, lie to someone else. Are we really supposed to believe that the first time you and David ever hung out in an apartment together was on that time? And notice, she said, basically, she implied they never went to each other's shared apartments. But she didn't say that she never went to the basement or he never went to her place. So again, listen to the language these people use because they're telling the truth, but they're really riding on semantics. So anyway, everybody gives their thoughts about this and everyone is basically like, I don't know. We were all just in huge shock that you guys could lie to all of us. Because mind you, it's not that they just lied to their partners. They lied to the entire group. There were definitely times where the group was sitting down and talking. There was girls meetups, there was guys meetups, and both of the two of them lied this whole time. Ike is the only person who's actually like, well, I mean, I saw it from the beginning with the two of them. I really did see the connection. I would see them at the gym and I saw David doing things that he doesn't usually do. He was doing cardio. He was slowly changing himself for Madison, and not maybe on purpose, but I could just see that connection brewing. And at the end of the day, why does it even matter? You guys found love, so who cares? 0 out of 10 answer Ike, but who else will we expect on this table to give a terrible answer besides Akechi? So David once again apologizes to Michelle. He says that he was trying to protect Madison, who is someone he really cared about, but at the end of the day, he should have been upfront. It was not fair to do this. And it's like, David, what is this, apology number 10? We get it. You're giving this fake, crocodile-teared PR apology and nobody wants to hear it. Now, someone points out the rings on their fingers. I think it was MM. She was like, okay, can we talk about the rings? Because we see it. They claim they are commitment rings and none other than Juan, who said, oh, I don't think I can be friends with people like that, was there when they picked out their commitment rings. Juan is another one who just blah, 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 just talks, doesn't mean anything he says. They claim their commitment rings. I will say I have heard that the two of them are engaged and possibly even married, but who knows? That's just tea. Don't take that as facts, okay? Anyways, we launch into the individual couple segments and we start off with Camille and Thomas.
The Thomas didn't have the swag, enough swag for you. Now I look at his cut, he's got his first suit.
All right, so Camille and Thomas, they are still married. Both of them feel that the last year has been pretty fun. It hasn't been crazy since the cameras have gone off. It's been pretty chill. And again, this is a couple that I definitely thought without the cameras, they would probably have much better luck than on the show. They recently celebrated their 1 year in London, and hey, more power to you. I would never go to London for a vacation. No offense to any of my London subscribers. Now, Camille does talk about how she never was intending to drag Thomas regarding the swag comments, regarding his lack of blackness. And I will say in retrospect now, they clearly seem to be a happy couple. I do think it could have potentially been an example of producer focus on certain things where for them, it wasn't as big of a deal as it seemed like it was on the show. Because they do both mention that these things were never deal breakers. The swag stuff, the comments that Camille was making, they both do verify that it was never a deal breaker. Maybe it was made to seem like on the show this was something that they were going to leave each other over, but in reality, the whole time, all they wanted to do was talk. So they do go into racial identity and how you could be an African American, but that does not mean you are a monolith. And I definitely respect and see this conversation. There's a lot of times that there are these archetypes of what Black men or Black women should be. In the case of Thomas, Black men. So for him, because he and Camille were strangers, he knew that there were some conversations they need to have, some hard-hitting conversations, because the implied part that he didn't say is maybe Camille is used to a certain type of Black man, but they needed to really be able to have these deep talks to realize that there are all types of Black men and it doesn't invalidate your identity as a Black person. And I totally get that as a Black person who at times in my life definitely had people, more so when I was younger. Now as an adult, I vibe with my people and that's just that. But when I was younger, I definitely had people that would tell me I'm not Black, or I don't like being Black, or I hate being Black because I didn't act like this certain archetype of a Black woman or a Black person. And I do believe that Black people are not a monolith. Black people come in all shapes, sizes, have all interests, all backgrounds, and they do deserve to be respected. And there's no such thing as this list of qualities that makes you a Black person. So I do like that, again, the two of them really did seem to sit down about this and really did use this as a learning moment and a learning experience. Now, they bonded and they did stay open to each other's needs, which overall made them closer. They do turn to intimacy, and that is something as well that brought them closer in the relationship. They've always been open to each other. They've had a really fun, goofy relationship. Camille talks a lot about how Tom has a super goofy side that we really don't get to see, and I think that's fair. We haven't seen that side of Tom, but Camille feels really honored that she actually got to see that person because it's not something that he shows to everybody. For Tom, it was difficult to be this vulnerable in this experiment. He cried more than he's probably cried in the last 5 years, I think he said. So for both of them, this really did show the softer and deeper sides of one another. And again, they have been really doing well and going strong after this situation. So they did go to see Tom's mom, and they talk about how Camille is really, really close to Thomas's mom, that Thomas's mom will even call her instead of calling Tom. And he's like, where's my phone call? And they touch a little bit as well on kids. They both agree that Tom is young in spirit and in every other place. Wink, wink. So when it comes to having kids, they still feel like Tom is up to it, even if he is 42 at this point or 43. They still think he's up for it. Now, they don't have a definitive timeline for kids, but they do see it happening within the next year or so. But as of right now, they just want to enjoy their marriage, enjoy their new space, and really just enjoy each other. They don't want to give this timeline and be so restrictive on it. And I agree. I do think that, yes, obviously plenty of couples, if you've dated prior, it makes a lot more sense to get married immediately and then jump straight into having a kid because you have prior experience being a couple. But being that these two are strangers, it's only been a year, a little bit over a year, right? I do think that, yes, take that time to get to know each other and then have a kid. So we do see an unseen moment of them at a parenting class, and I'm like, Tom, you never held a baby in your life. Tom's putting his elbow on the baby's head. He's like dropping the babies, like the head's bobbing all around. I'm like, Tom, let me find out you ain't never held a kid before. But overall, these two are doing well. And as I said, it's definitely clear to me that some of the things that they really honed in on as their drama was way more overblown on the show than it actually is in their relationship. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see a Black couple make it on this show and love that for them. All right, so next up we have Emm and Eichi.
Coming out of you now.
I respect Eichi's opinion and respect the fact that we are both two different types of learning.
I want to hear your description of Michelle Obama.
I mean, they gave me the Michelle Obama that they thought I should have.
But what does it mean to find Michelle Obama?
I don't know, when you watch Barack and Michelle.
And going into this, as I said, Eichi was definitely on PR mode. Once he saw that that book on Amazon was getting all of those negative reviews, he has definitely come here to change his tune. So Emm does talk about how she has not spoken to Eichi since they wrapped filming. She's not really sure that there's anything more to say. Now, they both get into the beginning of their relationship with Kevin, and they talk about how at the beginning of the relationship, it was really fun. They had a blast at the wedding, at the honeymoon, they were open to getting to know each other. We do see this unseen footage of them talking at the honeymoon, laughing because they were the center of attention with all the couples.
Know each other.
I think it's crazy because we're the center of couple attention, being attracted to somebody.
Remember when they were sitting in that little circle, they were really the only couple that was actually like touchy-feely, had hands on each other's laps, so everybody was under the impression that they were going to be that couple. And by everybody, I mean the couples, not me, because I never was. But even in that unseen footage, you could tell Emm's hugged up on him. Akechi seems a little bit looser, but you can definitely still see the apprehension in his face. And he definitely makes sure to keep reminding that they need to get to know each other first before they get to know each other sexually. So anyways, getting back, they talk about the dissolution of the relationship was basically when they got back to Chicago. They realized that they were no longer riding the high of the honeymoon, and that when they got back, there really wasn't a connection there. The relationship seemed very, very surface level, so they didn't really know how to go and how to move like that. Now, they realize that they learn very, very differently when it comes to things. Akechi does take accountability, and he almost apologizes by being like, I get it. I get that Emm's way of learning and trying to get to know someone is through asking questions. As the expert said, I'm art, she's science. So I definitely get that that's her way of getting to know things. And I was definitely way, way more stubborn when it came to that because I wasn't really used to that type of thing. And I was very shocked. As I said, I think Akechi wants y'all to stop bombing his book with negative apologies. But I was surprised to see him take that level of accountability. So does respect that, but she wishes that it could have been like that beforehand. Basically, why'd you have to put me through all that turmoil if now you're coming to that recognition and that realization? And again, I get it with This is the reunion, so I'm going to give her a little pass for still kind of being on fire and still being a little bit. But at the same time, girl, you're in a new relationship. Don't be getting fired up about Akechi anymore. In the same way that Akechi has left the building, you need to have left the building as well, So I get it, but and as I said, I will give her credit because this is the reunion and we're supposed to talk about our feelings, but still. So they get into the aggressive comment, and Akechi basically tries to take the route of, he would have said it differently. He didn't mean aggressive in the way of, wow, she's aggressive, she's angry, an angry black woman, but more so, she goes for what she wants as a businesswoman, as a leader, and he wishes he would have used that language, but instead, the words came out incorrectly. Again, Akechi's been reading y'all's comments on the internet, okay? He's been reading y'all Reddit, he's been watching our videos and all of our content creators because he basically regurgitated everything that we've been saying the entire season. Now, does respect that, and she says it would have been great for you to have done that. Instead of trying to take me down a notch and always squash me down, especially because, yes, I am a black woman, I am a business owner, and so as a black woman, those are very, very harmful words. It would have been nice to have you have that acknowledgement again during the time instead of having you try to squish me down. So Kevin does ask, okay, do you feel like guys tend to bring you down or squash you down because of how successful you are? And says, absolutely. There will be passive aggressive comments during the relationship, and there'll just be those little things where she can tell that they are not there to be on her side and lift her up, rather that they are intimidated by her. So they do ask, he does ask, sorry, Kevin, do you feel like Ike did that to you during the marriage? And says, absolutely. Now, Ike says he did not intend to. That was never his point. He never wanted to make her smaller. So he does apologize if that was the way that he was doing it. Again, Ike came with all the guard down. He really, 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 really came with his guard down today. So they talk a little bit about what Akechi's ideal woman is, and Kevin is like, so you said you wanted a Michelle Obama, and is like, Michelle. And Ike's like, oh, I think we have different definitions of Michelle. And he's like, okay, well, do you feel like you were her Barack? And he's like, oh, absolutely not. And I do think it's interesting that Ike is saying he wants a Michelle Obama. I presume that to mean an educated, conscious, strong black woman, but that's not But we get to the root of what it really was with Akechi, okay? Because it wasn't that Emm's a leader, a powerhouse, all of these different things. Now, they get into the commentary about Akechi feeling like a piece of meat, and he says basically what he meant by that comment was not that was putting herself onto him and violating his boundaries the way he tried to present to Dr. Pia, but instead he just wanted to get to know each other before getting to know each other sexually. So once again says, well, it was really hard because you were giving mixed signals. You were the one that got things going sexually on the honeymoon, and then you were hot and cold, so I was unaware unaware of what happened. Now, all of a sudden, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to confront you about it. And it's, oh my gosh, I'm traumatized. I feel like I have trauma and I'm just confused about the shift. So Kevin says, what is it though? Because you did really shut her out. You just became cold out of nowhere. So what was it? We get a commercial break for this, or like a little break. Comes back and Akechi finally says what we all knew and wish he would have just said earlier, that he was not attracted to in that way. And I almost felt like I needed to put a round of applause song, because honestly, all we wanted was truths from Akechi. Every single one of us knew that he was doing this to her because he was not attracted to her. Every single time a man, or, we'll say it, put it on women as well, but we're talking about a man right now, so that's why I'm saying a man. Every single time a man is not attracted to a woman on one of these shows, they have a very similar playbook of things that they do that includes villainizing the woman and things as such. So for me, finally to hear that he said, I was not attracted to her that way. I just wasn't into her. I knew from day one that that was the case, right? Not because I think Emm's unattractive. I actually think Emm's beautiful. I knew because people like Akechi, they are very shallow and very superficial and very pretentious. And so I just knew where this was going to go. Kevin says, wow, well, these are the hard conversations that needed to be had, because it is hard to admit this, but it does put things into context a lot. And again, she's very confused because they never had conversations about this in the relationship. She was never aware that he wasn't feeling her like that. So when all of this came, it would have been nice to just have a conversation about where he was at with things. So they get back. Akechi chimes back in and says, well, I just didn't want to embarrass you. And stops him right there and says, but you did. And it's like, you did, Ike. You did embarrass her. So if that was your main point, that you didn't want to embarrass her, you embarrassed her even more by defaming her and making some false accusations about her that had no grounds, had no basis, had no truth. Now, I think does have some things as well that I really did talk about concerning her and Brandon and the desire for love and the speed running into love and the lack of discernment. But I do think some of the other claims that Ike was making, calling her an a-hole, saying that she is coming on to him too hard, saying that she's aggressive, all of these different things were completely unnecessary and out of left field. There was absolutely no reason to talk about this woman and try to paint her out as aggressive and nasty to cover up for the fact that you were not attracted to her. So they jump into the letter that read on decision day, and Ike claims he did not listen to it at all. He said, at that time, I knew it was coming from a place of hurt. I knew it was fake, so I didn't really hear it. Sure, Ike, sure. says that at the time, she did wish Akechi nothing but the worst, and she did mean that in that moment because she was really hurt, but now she doesn't really mean that. She has let it go. So overall, Ike still is claiming that behind the scenes, he was walking on eggshells, and that made it very, very tough for him. And again, Ike, why? Every single time Akechi says, I was walking on eggshells, what were the eggshells? Can you give us an example of something that said or did that made you not feel heard? Because he continues to say that he did not feel heard. There were certain times that he just felt like he was talking and she wasn't getting it. And I'm just wondering, what is it? What is it? It makes a lot of vague claims, and I just want to know what it is. For basically, she wishes she wouldn't have tried so hard. She wishes she would have realized that she needs to give the love to someone that they give to her, and that overall she shouldn't have put so much effort in with a partner that didn't really put the effort in with her. I understand where was coming from, and yes, I agree with her. Something about this answer, though, I didn't really like, because I would have liked to see a moment where gave a little sliver of self-reflection for herself. And not because I'm saying that with Ike. I think all of these relationships, there's a lot of these relationships have a person who is clearly in the wrong. In this one, it was Ike. But it would have been nice to even see say, I don't know, maybe I should have a little more discernment. Maybe I should let people breathe a little more. Maybe I should roll to the beat of the drum a little more. I would have just liked her to see her say, hey, let me reflect on myself too, because I think for me, that shows growth. Even, I've been in relationships where I was cheated on and the person was clearly in the wrong, but there were still times that I could reflect back and be like, this is how I could be a better partner. because nobody's perfect. So I don't know. I just wish she would have given a little bit of a better answer there. But I do understand where she's coming from, and I do agree that she should not have been so head over heels all in. The problem with her giving that answer is you got engaged 16 days after decision day. So it seems like you didn't even take your own advice. Just keeping it real. But that is basically the end of their 2 segment. I mean, they don't talk, obviously. They're not friends. is in a brand new relationship. And once again, she feels like feels like she has found love with Brandon. She is head over heels. She does not have to worry about how he feels with her. So she has everything she wanted. And you know what? If it's working and she likes it, then I love it. You know, who am I to be the judge of someone's relationship based off of TV? But, for Ike, he says that he is still ready to find his wife. He still thinks that his wife is out there. He would not come back on this process. Yeah, because you applied 7 times, was it? I believe. But he feels like he is still ready for marriage and his wife is still out there. So that's it. Letters to my departed. Them 2 are departed. Bye-bye. No more Emm and Eichi. These 2 will likely never see each other again. All right. So next up, we have Madison and Allan.
Was right or was there. So then take that with a pressure cooker of a situation of living with a stranger and...
Very different. You were struggling with attraction. Do you feel like you gave it your best shot?
We would still be together, but it would have allowed us to at least fully get to know each other and leave from it saying, hey, we both tried, it didn't work out, and this is why.
I think it.
So Madison, she claims in the beginning she was really, really trying with Allan, but then she started to get into her head, which caused her to pull back. Kevin is like, okay, what do you mean? What were those things that got into your head and why did it make you pull back? So for Madison, she realized from the beginning that certain things were not compatible and she was forcing herself to find something there when she knew in the end that they would likely be better with as friends. This also combined with the fact that they were filming a TV show and she was living with a stranger. It just really caused her to be so overwhelmed, and poor old Madison was having such a hard time. And again, Madison, if you were having such a hard time, I don't think anybody would have came down on you super hard if you had just been upfront and been for real. So anyway, Allan says that he has never been in a relationship where he would see his girlfriend tense up or kind of pull away whenever he touched her waist. He can recognize when a girl wants to be touched by him, when a girl likes him, when a girl wants to be around him. So for him, though, he always thought there was hope and they were just looking for the spark. And Allan, I hear you, Allan, but I don't get it. Like, how would you think there's hope if there's no spark? I just feel like if there's not an initial spark, then what's going on? But I hear you. I get you. So for Madison, because Kevin asks, okay, so do you feel like you gave this your best shot, Madison? And Madison doesn't really answer. She actually circumvents the question and says, well, I think Allan gave his best shot. So overall, I don't want that to go to the wayside. I do feel that he gave his best shot, but it's just a difficult process and it's unlike nothing we've ever done before. Again, the PR reunion. Everybody's on their PR tour. Madison is definitely on her PR tour with Allan. These 2, I don't know if they had some kind of prior conversation because they were definitely giving PR, Madison and Allan. So Madison claims that she felt uncomfortable a lot, which made it really, really challenging for her. And she should have been honest about where she was at from the beginning. So Allan says, okay, so what was it though that was making you uncomfortable? Was it something I did? Was it something that I said? Now she says that it was that she saw them more as friends and she really didn't have those romantic feelings. But again, she was too afraid to say something. She could not get past that stage into the romantic stage. So it was just always friends, the friend zone for Madison. So Madison is wondering what it would have been like if they were not around all of the other couples. They kiki a little bit about how in the old days, the couples used to not meet. And I will say, I wish we could get a season back, just one, just to see what it's like to see when the couples don't meet. Because I do remember maths when the couples did not meet. They didn't have a shared apartment. They had to find their own places. I get why they try to do this centralized stuff now. But in my personal opinion, I do think it would maybe be a little more interesting if all the couples didn't know each other. I get it that all the couples meeting and couple swaps and couple fighting and stuff like that is interesting for TV, but I agree. They go on to this whole thing about how for Madison, she's not claiming that they would have necessarily been together if they didn't have the other couples intervening. But she does feel like at least she could have wrote it out with Allan and given it a fair chance, basically admitting that yes, she was distracted by David, and once she realized that she had those feelings for David, she really gave up on whatever could have come from she and Allan. So now Kevin is like, okay, would you regret giving Allan your full attention? If that was the case, would you have regretted that? And Madison says, well, I wouldn't. I'll be honest, yes, I do feel like I would have regretted giving Allan my full attention, because I will never say that meeting David is something I regret. I am in love with him. I would never not want to meet David. So I do think for me personally, yes, if giving Allan my full attention would have meant that David wasn't there, then yes, I would regret that. And she keeps saying when it came to trying, she basically keeps saying, if she knew in the end that David was going to be there and they were still going to be together, then she would have tried all the way, but otherwise she wouldn't have. And I'm like, come on, y'all gotta, when these people talk, I'm like, what are you saying, Madison? What are you saying? I mean, these people literally, we talk about rehearsing reunion questions over on Love is Blind. David and Madison were rehearsing reunion questions, because what kind of answer is that? Yeah, I mean, I would have tried with Allan if it meant that I got to meet David. Then your answer is no, Madison. The answer straight up is no. You don't wish that you put your effort into Allan. So now they jump on to, why is it, Madison, that you did not in the first place say something was wrong? Madison claims that she did not want to involve Allan because she was really, really worried about hurting his feelings. And Allan says, I told you on day 2 of the honeymoon, because I could already tell that something was not going right. I'm a grown man. If you have something to say about me, let me know. I'm grown. And I agree with that. This whole, I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid. He's an adult. We're all adults out here. I'm so tired of people lying to other adults because they think they can't handle it. Even if he couldn't handle it, even if he crashed out, even if it was hard for him, you have to tell the truth. You don't get to lie to people because you want to preserve their feelings. That's not right. That's very slimy behavior. So now they get back again into when the actual first time that Madison and David hung out was. Madison, once again, is standing 25 toes down on the fact that she and David never hung out alone in each other's apartments, that all they ever did was hang out in the morning at the gym. Madison then goes into her PR about why she deserves to be with David and why we should all see the love that she and David have. She says, why would I risk my reputation? Why would I risk my great job, risk everybody seeing this if I didn't think David was the one? There's obviously a reason why I did all of this. And I don't care what anybody thinks because I found my love in the end. Madison, shut the hell up. We don't care. We will never like the two of you. You will never catch us all out here loving up on y'all saying, oh my God, go. No, because what y'all did is slimy to everybody else, and that's not going to change. So Allan does admit that he feels like even if Madison had been upfront from the beginning about her feelings and everything going on, he does not think that they would have actually worked out in the end. On paper, it seemed like a relationship that could work, but in reality, the incompatibilities were there strongly. So now the two of them, Allan and Madison, they admit that they're friends, okay? Because Kevin's like, so if you and David get married, are you inviting Allan to the wedding? And Madison's like, probably not. But then Allan chimes in and says, well, we are friends. When we see each other, it's a fun time. I think the cast still hangs out. They have a lot of overlapping friends, but they're not in each other's lives. They're not going out of their way to hang out. And I don't know, something about it where I was like, why does Allan have to be the one saying, oh, we're friends? It's just giving like you're letting your guard down. And I'm gonna say you need to keep being angry forever and ever and ever. The show is over. It's all done. I get that the cast is still in similar locations, but it still just gives that both Allan and Madison are very passive and would rather brush things under the rug rather than having real conversations. Because I even feel like here, there wasn't a lot that was said. I think some stuff was said, but there wasn't a lot that was said. But that's the two of them. They both have their new separate relationships, and that's that. One last thing, Madison says that she has not met Allan's new girlfriend. However, apparently Allan's new girlfriend is really excited to meet Madison. And I'm like, so y'all gonna be going on double dates or something? Is it really like this where y'all really are friends? Because okay, I just was not expecting that, but I guess it's easier to be friends than to fill yourselves with hate. So more power to y'all, and I guess have fun on those double dates, you and David, and Madison or Allan and his new girlfriend. All right, so next up we get the ladies only segment.
Ring, Emma. That thing's popping out. Who else was surprised when went into that jewelry store and got engaged?
Kevin asked them some rapid fire questions. They basically feel that Camille gives the best advice, which I thought was interesting because we barely ever hear Camille talk or give opinions on things, but supposedly she gives the best advice. Carla is the life of the party, though says she is between Carla and Madison. Now, they go into who will still be in contact in 10 years. Madison says, oh, probably everybody. Probably not me and Madison, but everybody else, yes. Camille actually says she's the closest with Madison. Says she's the closest with Camille. They actually live around the corner from each other. But basically, all of the ladies seem to have some kind of connecting friendships outside of Madison and Michelle. So everyone was shocked about Emm's engagement, but they are happy for her. Madison chimes in and says, hey, I had my own stuff going on, so who am I to judge? True that, Madison. They are all grateful that they had each other during this experience because nobody else really understood what they were going through in their lives. Now, they do get on to the night that Carla was hanging out with David and Madison. And Carla does say that at the time she wasn't really suspecting much. I don't really believe Carla. I do think Carla had suspicions. Carla does admit that they did disappear. And Madison chimes in and says, but I did lose my phone. Remember, I lost my phone. You know that I lost my phone. And Carla's just like, yeah, I mean, you two did disappear. Now for Carla, she does say that after this whole thing happened and she did learn the truth, it kind of did sour her and Madison's friendship. And she did realize this is not really what a friendship that I would want would be like. So it seems like Carla still isn't as close with Madison as she used to be. That's good because Juan clearly didn't keep his word. Michelle overall feels like the timeline is really, really off with everything. But at this point, she knows she's not going to get the truth. What's even the point? Madison also was apparently in the interviews dragging her and calling her immature. So once again, Madison takes no accountability. She says, oh my God, everybody's going through hard times here. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you feel some type of way about it, I totally get it. I respect it, but I had my feelings about things in the same way that you did. So, blah, blah. It's like, Madison, can you ever just say, my bad? Okay, what I did was effed up. I shouldn't have lied to you. My bad. But no, instead she says, hopefully in the future, Michelle, you can get over it. Hopefully Michelle can get over it. Not, hey, hopefully maybe you could forgive me because I know I'm in the wrong. I just don't get Madison's aggression towards Michelle. Girl, it's giving pick me. All for David? Child, but that is the end of the ladies segment. Last but not least, Michelle and David.
Right.
I'm glad for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's how they went about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had confronted both of them for weeks, and they lied, and that's why.
So they have not sat down and talked since the entire incident, so this is the first time they're really gonna get down to it. Now, David talks about how his family was extremely disappointed in this whole thing. Again, they were the ones apparently encouraging him to see this thing through. But for her, she was just turned off immediately by David living in the basement. They get into the basement and Michelle says, look, I'm going to be honest, we're almost 40. I just didn't expect that I was going to be with a guy who lived at home. And again, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I really tried to be nice because I would watch other content and I would read commentary and I would read stuff in my comments. But for me personally, I ain't going to hold you. If I was with a guy and we were nearly 40 years old and he told me he lived in his mom's basement, barring some very specific situations and some very specific circumstances. Maybe he's a caretaker for his mom. Maybe he got laid off and he's getting back on his feet, but actually has a 1-year plan. Something like that. I'm sorry. If you are nearly 40 and living in your mom's basement, I would think something of it. That's just me. And I don't fault Michelle for that. Now, do I fault Michelle for the way she talked to David, the way she put him down constantly, the way she basically, she berated this man verbally. Yes, I think, again, respect and kindness is key. And Michelle definitely has a nasty affect and a nasty demeanor, which I think probably hurts her in some areas of her life, especially her dating life. But I don't fault Michelle for having her suspicions about it, because I would have my suspicions about it too. So Kevin is like, okay, so when did you give up on things, David? You know, you were trying, but at some point you really weren't feeling it. He says by the anniversary, the 1 month anniversary, he had given up. He had the relationship with Madison, but they hadn't yet cultivated it. Michelle's rolling her eyes again. And you know, Michelle says, look, I was never upset that the two of you guys were together. I was upset about the way you went about it. For over a month, I was confronting both of you guys, or for 3 weeks, whatever it was. I was confronting you guys, and you both continuously lied to my face. That's what frustrated me. David starts to shut down. I don't think you give a fuck, Michelle. She's like, there's a difference, David, between not giving a fuck that you guys are together and not giving a fuck that you guys lied to me. There's a difference. He's like, whatever. You can believe what you want to believe. It doesn't matter. Michelle's like, I would be an idiot if I did not believe that something physical happened prior to the text message. And he's like, well, believe what you want. And Kevin's like, even Kevin chimes in and is like, I'm going to be honest though, like, I'm kind of with Michelle here, because it is weird to go straight into sending that message. And he says, well, you can believe what you want to believe too. And that's what gets me about David. David is nasty as hell, and he's nasty to everyone. It's one thing to be nasty to Michelle because you guys have a history, but we've seen David will be nasty to the experts. He's nasty to Kevin, the host. It doesn't make sense, David. Get over it. This man has the biggest chip on his shoulder, and for what? And now you got your Barbie telling you you're everything. So of course that chip is gonna get even bigger. People like this, they never change their ways because they get what they want. David got what he wanted out of this, the white blonde of his dreams. So there's no reason that David has to feel remorseful. And that's the shameful part of it, is that people like that, they don't change. So Kevin is like, why can't you just clarify when you first were with Madison? Like, why can't you just clarify? David's like, I don't think Michelle gives two fucks. And I'm like, that's not an answer. That is not an answer, David. So anyways, we get this cliffhanger of basically David admitting whether or not he and Madison were together before the text message. And that is where the reunion cuts. Whoo, child. So anyways, as I said, David and Madison are still being hard-headed and choosing to stand on that PR that is not working. Anyways, if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would support the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. As y'all can see, my brain is fried. Thank you so much for watching my content. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, getting me to nearly 6,500 subscribers. I love y'all, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.